Tonight on Closer Look, a 3 p.m. phone call yesterday between U.S. President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau seemed to buy each side at least a 30-day break from imposing tariffs on each other. In addition to pulling all American booze off the shelves of the LCBO, Ontario Premier Doug Ford ripped up a $100 million deal with Elon Musk's Starlink. To talk about that deal, Snay Dougal, the deputy editor at the Trillium, joins us tonight from Toronto. Snay, let's start with the nuts and bolts of this deal between the province and Starlink. What is it, and what is it hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, so Scott, this deal was announced in November last year with Starlink, which is owned by Elon Musk's aerospace company, SpaceX. And the goal was to provide high-speed satellite internet to about 15,000 homes and businesses in, very rural, remote, and northern communities where it's hard to get or set up internet, where there aren't, fiber optic services. And where internet where services aren't available at this time. So the idea was to have that start this year, starting in June. Starlink, they use satellites at low Earth orbit, so closer to the Earth. And the idea there being that, there's a bit less lag, and the goal was to provide internet that allows people living in these communities to be able to do things like, one, to have internet, but also to be able to do video conferencing and, online games and that sort of thing. This initiative or this deal was part of the Ford government's goal to link up all communities in Ontario to high-speed internet by the end of 2025, so this year.
Do we know why Musk's company was chosen? Were there many others competing for the contract?
Yeah, so what we heard from Infrastructure Ontario, which is a provincial agency, they said that Starlink was one of two satellite internet service providers it shortlisted in the procurement process, which started the previous year, so 2023. Last week, when we asked Doug Ford about this right before he officially called the election, he defended the deal, and he said that the government had a transparent bid and Starlink came out on top. He said that other companies couldn't handle the infrastructure that was required, and that this was really just the government following through on their promise to make sure that people across the province are connected.
Now, many, particularly opposition members, seem to think it's a sweetheart of a deal. In fact, that's exactly what Bonnie Crombie called it. And at more than $6,600 per connection, certainly on the surface, it looks to favor Starlink.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the message that Ford's opponents have really been trying to push. And when the deal was first announced, the NDP talked about it as talked about the deal as being a donation to private industry. So, I mean, if you go online, Starlink kits, like internet kits, sell for about $500. So the question was, why is it costing more than $6,000 for each connection? And then recipients would still need to pay monthly fees, which the government told our friends at Sudbury.com that it would be a maximum of $150 per month. So, I mean, the government has also, so they've come back and said that, most of this 100 million, so up to about 92 million, would go towards paying Starlink for what they call capacity reservation, hardware installation costs, and a plan to engage with Indigenous communities.
Okay, so let's get back to yesterday. Trump announces the tariffs, then Ford rips up the deal, then Trump and Trudeau come to an agreement for at least a 30-day pause, then several hours later, Ford reinstates the deal. Let's talk first about Elon's reaction to the deal being scrapped. What did he say on X, his social media platform?
His response was very brief. He simply linked to the news about the cancellation of the deal and said, "Oh, well."
Shocking. Now, the reaction from the public on Ford's about-face, and still many saying the deal should have been abandoned a long time ago, long before this, if not for the high cost, certainly for the hand gesture that Musk made at the U.S. president's inauguration.
Yeah, I mean, we've been hearing from parties for some time about this now. Back to last week, before the election, Ford said that he would keep an eye on the deal, but he didn't say at that time that he would cancel it. But as we got closer to tariffs being implemented, that's when he announced that, the province was going to rip up the deal. And it didn't matter if there was a fine for doing so. His message was that it had to be done to send a message to Donald Trump regarding the tariffs, because Elon Musk is a Trump ally. And he also said that, he thought the province had a good case if this ended up going to court. His political opponents said they supported the move at that time to cancel the deal. The NDP's Mart Stiles did come out and say that, Ontario needs to now move quickly to make sure that it finds a Canadian alternative provider, and to do that soon so that people in these communities have access as soon as possible.
Okay, so Sinead, where does the deal stand now, and what happens if 30 days from now Trump moves forward with the tariffs?
Yeah, so, yesterday when the news hit that the proposed U.S. tariffs were being paused, along with Canada's retaliatory tariffs, Doug Ford came out and said that the province was also going to pause its retaliatory measures. And that included, the decision to remove American alcohol from the LCBO. But it also meant the cancellation. It also meant that the cancellation of the Starlink contract was also paused. And when we reached out to Ford's office, they said that the contract will proceed for now. So it seems like they're leaving the door open to, canceling it again if we do see tariffs hit at some point in the future.
All right, Deputy Editor Sinead Dougal from The Trillium on tonight's Closer Look.